Stepdaughter wants half the money I saved for my daughter's wedding and is mad I said no. I, 45 female, am married to John, 50 male. We have 2 daughters, one together, Hannah, 25, and one from his previous relationship, Alexa, 30. Alexa is older and always got everything new and Hannah always got the hand-me-downs. She never had much of her own things, so I wanted to make her wedding special. Both of the girls have gotten engaged. I told Hannah I would pay for her wedding. I have been saving her whole life. Alexa asked John if he and her bio mom would be paying for her wedding and he said no. He said she should have a wedding that her and her fiancé can afford. The girls went to get lunch the other day and Alexa found out I was paying for Hannah's wedding. Alexa called John crying that it's unfair I am paying for Hannah's wedding. John thinks we should split the money evenly between the 2 girls. I told him no because I was the one who had been saving the money. I told him if he'd like to pay for Alexa's wedding, then he should speak with her mother for them to see how much they could help. John asked if I would be willing to give any money that is left from Hannah's wedding to Alexa. I told him, no. I was giving Hannah the whole account and she could spend the money on what she wants. Am I the a-hole? Well, OP, in my opinion, no. You're not the a-hole. That is, as you said, something that John should have spoken to Alexa's mother about. You've been saving for a lot of years with one goal in mind, to be able to pay for Hannah's wedding. That is a gift you intended for her. It's that simple. That's it. Also, John said himself to his daughter, you should have the wedding that you and your fiancé can afford. But now things have changed since there's money for Hannah that you saved up and he feels like a crap parent because he didn't save up for Alexa. Now, I don't know what type of communication you guys have as a couple, but since you've been saving for years, did John know about this and just said like, yeah, whatever, or was he not aware at all that you were saving this money for Hannah? That would be like my main question. But overall not the end. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section and now let's move on to the community comments. Popular Cat 477 says, not that you opened a savings account for your daughter and you can use the money as you please. It's one of those situations where it may come across as selfish, but sometimes it's okay to be selfish in my opinion. And I know this is where stepmom and stepdaughter relationships can get tricky. But if it were me, I don't think I would expect my stepmom to pay for my wedding. Cinnamon Blue says, John has realized what a crap parent he is by not providing for his child as you have for yours. Now he's trying to make it your problem. It's not. It's his and his ex's. Give Anna the money and don't be in a hole to her. Subsailor 1968 says, not the a-hole. That is indeed a dog that should be between Alexa's parents. Gandhi Galwa says, you are holding it against your stepdaughter that you took her old clothes for your daughter rather than buying new ones? I had to do the same thing. But what does wearing hand-me-downs have to do with the wedding? Technically, not the because it's your money and so forth, but that stretch of a justification makes me think that deep down, you know this might not be the best decision. You are certainly communicating to your stepdaughter that you don't view her as a true daughter. Again, that's your right in some sense, but she also has a right to treat you accordingly. I would, says, not the a-hole. She has 2 parents to pay for her wedding. Husband is just trying to look like a good guy to his daughter without having to spend any money on her. Stick to your guns. Sounds like your daughter deserves this win. And that username is taken says not the a-hole. Sounds like you have separate finances and not sure why your husband thinks it's fair to combine money and expenses now. Also, sounds like there's been some unfairness in terms of treatment of the kids all along your relationship, so I also don't understand why he's so concerned about making things fair and even for both girls now. This is your money that you've been saving for a very specific reason. Husband and Alexa's mom should have been planning for Alexa just like you did for Hannah. This is not on you. Edit. Just to answer some common questions. When I got pregnant with Hannah, John asked me to be a stay-at-home mom. During that time, John was in charge of all the finances. That is why Hannah always had hand-me-downs because John said he wasn't going to buy her something new if we had something that worked. I started working when Hannah was 10 years old. At that time, John and I decided he would split Alexa's costs with her mother and that we could split Hannah's costs. During that conversation, I told John that I would be making a savings account for Hannah. At the same time, I said I hoped I could save enough money to pay for her wedding or a down payment on a house. Obviously, not knowing how much I'd save. We didn't talk about it again because there wasn't a need to. Once I started working, our finances were separate. Also, Alexa's mom had full custody and we had her every other weekend. During those weekends, John made all her parenting decisions. Well, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole and that this is in fact something that Alexa's parents should have been concerned with. So now let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. Hannah told her fiancé what had happened. Hannah's fiancé is an only child and his parents said they would pay for half the wedding. I told Hannah the money is still hers and she can use it for the other half and to use the leftover money towards a house. Her and her fiancé are very grateful. I told her that tomorrow, I'd go talk to someone about getting the money in a trust of some kind in her name since right now it's in a savings account with both of our names. Also, I saw people asking about if I was contributing to the household once I started working, and yes, I was. We agreed on an amount and I would transfer money to John for him to use towards the bills every month. I also did the grocery shopping. Final update. The money is officially transferred into only Hannah's name. My husband is also aware of this. Alexa, her fiancée, Alexa's mother, Hannah, her fiancée, my husband and I all talked last night. Alexa explained she felt pushed aside during the biggest day of her life so far and felt like she didn't have our support going into her new life. I explained that I was very sorry and never wanted her to feel that way, but that their father was not contributing to the money and that was money that I acquired after working. I also explained that if her mother had saved money for her, I would never ask for some of the money for Hannah. Alexa then looked to her father and said, he should be keeping things fair between the girls. Alexa's mother also spoke up saying John needed to handle this because it was not okay. Alexa's mother also said she would pay for the photographer and that John should at least pay for the venue. At this point, I spoke up and said this seemed like it should be a discussion between John, Alexa, and her mother. I said I would be leaving and be back in an hour and asked Hannah and her fiancé if they'd like to come with me. The three of us went to get ice cream down the road. When I got home, John and I talked. He said Alexa is saying that if I don't give her half the money, then I'm no longer invited to the wedding. I told John the first understood and he also knows the money was transferred into Hannah's name. He's not angry with me and said he's upset with himself because he didn't think I'd be able to save that much through the years. Well, Lopi, I think you handled this the best way possible. The fact that Alexa's salty about it, that's her problem, and if you don't get to go to the wedding because of that, so be it. Find something more interesting to do. But all in all, I think it's a good update. The money you saved is still in Hannah's name and now nobody can touch it. And John understands that he's only got himself to blame. So here's wishing you the best OP and thanks for sharing. And now, let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit, Am I the A-hole? And it's by user Throat Gobbler. Am I the A-hole for telling my friend the truth on why she is not able to keep a relationship? I have a close friend and she is really sweet, but she complains a lot on why she can't keep a relationship. I usually don't say anything because I don't want to hurt her feelings, but she got broken up with again the other day and yesterday was complaining to me about how it seems like men don't actually want to settle down and they all suck, etc. I want to settle down and they all suck, etc. I finally tried to explain the best way I could without coming off as disrespectful, but when she's single, she hangs around lots of men. Some of them, she used to sleep with and are just her friends now, as she says. So when she gets into relationships, she still hangs around these same men. Now I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but being around multiple men alone while having a boyfriend can make some guys jealous or maybe even a little insecure. And when her boyfriends would sometimes express how they feel, she would brush them off and call them controlling. Another thing is she will blow off things with her boyfriends at the time to hang with her male friends. Her ex got mad at her one time because she forgot about a date they had planned and hung out with her friends instead, and he was pissed, rightfully so. I explained to her that she constantly puts her friends over her relationships and that's why they don't last. You don't have to stop hanging with friends, but when you get in a relationship, you can't keep hanging out as if you're still single because you have someone else in your life now. After hearing that, she got all upset at me and claimed I was floozy shaming her and had internalized misogyny and hung up the call on me. Since our conversation yesterday, she hasn't been answering my calls or texts, and I'm starting to feel as if I said something wrong or should have kept my mouth shut. Well, there's no point in thinking if you should have kept your mouth shut because it's out there and you said it and you weren't wrong. Your friend is salty because you just called her out on it. She doesn't take her relationship seriously and, of course, she's gonna get dumped. What does she expect? Let's reverse the roles. If she had a boyfriend who would constantly hang out with previous friends with benefits, would she like it? I don't think so. But of course, since she doesn't like what you've said to her, she needs to find some sort of external cause for whatever is going on. It can't be her. In my opinion, I think your friend needs to sit down with herself and realize that she's got three choices. One is accept that no self-respecting partner is going to be okay with being put in second place after all the other men in her life. 2. Keep hanging out with her friends, not expecting to find a boyfriend and be okay with that. Or 3. Keep trying to find somebody that's going to be okay with it and just be frustrated every time she gets dumped. But that is not your problem or something that you need to solve, OB, not the a-hole. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. And now let's move on with the community comment. RogueX047 says, I don't know what the full extent of the friendship is, but it sounds to me like you said your truth and she didn't like it and blew up on you and ended the call. Seems to me like she knows what's causing her to never keep her relationships and you pointing it out was like a cherry on top, rightfully so. It's not floozy shaming. It's just not wanting to be held accountable to the mistakes you make. True friendship includes pointing out the brutally honest areas because even with friends, you don't have to agree with everything they say. Psychological Fox 97 says, "Not the but I'm confused. Why does she say you're floozy shaming her?" To me, that would only really make sense if she was sleeping with these friends. If she's still effing other dudes, that would definitely be a reason her relationships don't last. And OP responds, "Because some of her friends are guys she used to sleep with. And I'm guessing she assumed I was floozy shaming her because they said she hangs out around a lot of men while having a boyfriend." Kintsugi 1016 says, "Anytime a Gen Z person screeches out about misogyny, my eyes roll into the back of my head. How exhausting. As a realistic human being who is not controlling and understands people are allowed to have friends of the opposite gender, no, you're not the a-hole. She's delusional if she thinks that any serious potential partner would ever be okay with her hanging out one-on-one with men she's previously had a sexual relationship with. Even more so if she thinks they're going to be fine with being blown off in favor of this alone time with the ex. It's not controlling whatsoever to want her to not do this crap. If she behaves this way, the only man she's going to attract are going to be the types who would expect the same from her, and something tells me she wouldn't be okay with it herself. If she wants to do this crap, then just find someone who's okay with an open relationship. Otherwise, respect the fact that labels mean boundaries, and if she wants to use those labels, she needs to respect those boundaries. Your friend is laughably immature." Maximum Rebreeze says, "Not the a-hole." It also just sounds she's still in that phase in life where she just wants to have fun. As you said, nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, she shouldn't expect every other guy to want that. And the devil guy says, "Not the a-hole." Turn it around. Imagine she's with a guy and he keeps flaking on her to hang out with a bunch of women, half of whom he's effed and probably would still be effing if he wasn't with her, and she can't tell if maybe he still is. Would she want to be with someone who not only treated her badly but also ignored her feelings? Of course not. She might not like it, but if she keeps losing men, maybe she needs to stop blaming men as if we're all the same and look in an effing mirror. Additional information from comments. I am 19 and she is 23, and she has 6 male friends. She did ask for my opinion, which is why I said something, but I don't think she expected to hear me say what I said. She said, as her friend, I'm supposed to stick up for her and not some random man I don't know. But I was trying to explain the reasoning as to why her relationships end the way they do. She wanted me to say sweet words to her, but I think she can have male friends. Yes. But blowing off your boyfriend's plans to hang out with them and then thinking that's not an issue is one of the reasons why she keeps getting broken up with. And I was trying to explain to her, but she got all upset. Well, the community agrees that is not the end, that she just called her friend out and the friend didn't like it. So now let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. She finally accepted my call and I tried to speak calm and respectfully, but all she wanted to do was argue with me. Her main point was she felt disrespected because as her friend, I should have been uplifting her instead of putting her down, and that I was taking the side of random men that I do not personally know. I tried explaining to her that me telling her the truth on why her relationships keep failing isn't me taking random man's sides. It's just me being honest and not lying to her, but she didn't want to hear that and got more loud with me over the phone and began swearing and calling me names. And when I asked how I flussy shamed her, she said, because of the way I described her hanging with her friends as if she was still sleeping with them. She said, she has slept with some in the past but not anymore. And any man that has a problem with her still being friends with them is insecure. I disagreed with that statement, and then she called me a pick-me and that I don't realize the internalized misogyny I have. She then called me jealous, saying that I'm projecting onto her because I want male friends of my own. I do not, and that is why she doesn't hang around females like me, because they are very bitter and messy. I then told her if every woman she encounters, she doesn't get along with, then maybe the problem is with her. I don't think I had done anything wrong besides tell her the truth, unless she wants friends just hyping her up and not saying how they really feel. After more back and forth, I just hung up on her and haven't responded to her messages saying how she will fight me and such and such. The friendship is honestly over now, as people were saying in the last post. Well, OP, good for you. Honestly, your life is better without idiots like her in it. Hopefully, someday she'll get to the place where you are considering you are 4 years younger than her. But if not, she can just keep blaming other people for her issues. In any case, OP, you're better off without her. Take care and thanks for sharing. And now, let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance and it's by user CrossBets Revenge. Oh, I have to return your tile, do I? This is a few years ago now. I was working for a local flooring retailer. It was a cool job, and for the most part, the customers were cool. Until one day, let's call him Jonesy, not his name, just how I think of him, comes in and buys some tile. He buys probably 6 different colors for different areas of the house. I explained at the time if he has any full boxes when he's done, we'll take them back and get him a refund. He says okay and leaves. A couple days later, in strolls Jonesy and wants to return his tile. Okay, no problem. Until I see that old Jonesy has brought back 3 or 4 tiles from each of the colors he bought. He has not one single box. I don't have a good way to return single tiles. I let him know why I can't and what we can't do. Dude immediately goes full boomer and starts raising his voice at me and telling me how we lied and misrepresented our process. After a couple of minutes, I'm thinking this is no way worth it, so I just make up some item roughly the cost of his tile and hand him the cash. As he's walking out the door, I hit him with the polite, "Have a nice day," to which he responds with a couple expletives. Here is where the malicious compliance comes in. I knew what he returned was the last of those tile colors and we weren't getting any more in. So I grab one of the loader and have him immediately take them out to the dumpster and make sure he breaks them in the hope old Jonesy runs a couple short. A couple days go by and nothing. I was a little disappointed as I thought my plan was awesome.